back to the stage, guys. Just have to get rid of my water bottle there. We're here with Darksiders 2. Han, thanks very much for joining us. And your friend, is this Hayden?
This is Hayden, lead designer on Darksiders 2, and I'm the art director on Darksiders 2.
Awesome. You guys going to show us some of this game?
Absolutely, yeah.
This is a bit of a change up. New protagonist, new storyline. What's the sort of, give us the basic overview for people who haven't played the first Darksiders.
Yeah, so basically Darksiders 2 takes off here in the first area. That's what we're going to be demoing today. And it's in essence the story of death, really. And he's really on a quest to redeem his brother Wall, his name, since he's been imprisoned and accused of creating the apocalypse in the first game. So here we kind of get to see him in the realm, a frozen kind of like realm where the Crowfather lives. And Crowfather is the keeper of secrets, and he's somehow going to find out, what's been happening.
Of his brother. Are we going to see Conquest and Famine at all appearing in this?
That's a good question. The Horsemen, the rest of them will make some sort of appearance or be referenced, but really this is a story about death, and we wanted to really introduce death as another one of the Horsemen as part of the whole Darksiders lore and the story. So I don't know if you guys can see this right now, but he's getting into his first bit of combat. So this is kind of like a training level also.
Yeah.
You get to really string the different bits of traversal, introduce you into a light bit of combat. You can really kind of like get an idea for, first of all, how agile death is in comparison to war. So it's a completely different fighting style. We've looked at the combat, looked at the way we want him to move and maneuver around the environments, and it's kind of to change it up. Also to do with personality as well. Wars are very much like, solid, kind of like battering ram of a character.
Yeah, physically they're completely different.
Absolutely, yeah. This is one of the things we want to do, give each of the horsemen their own personality, their own fighting style, so they really kind of like, feel like a complete group when they go out, and march on the hordes.
Whereabouts is this game taking place geographically, I guess?
It's kind of an area called the Abyss, really, where all the worlds kind of go to die. So you're going to encounter a lot of different areas, angelic citadels, and demonic fortresses, and a whole bunch of other kind of parts of the Darksiders lore will be revealed to you. So right now, yeah, we're introducing some more the beam traversal here, and again, we're going to start stringing some of this stuff together, so the player gets a chance to sort of like change up how he kind of gets around the environment. We've got 4 main areas, and these areas are all visually pretty different. Different challenges are presented. You're going to come across a lot of NPCs, and they're going to help you on your quest, or potentially buy weapons, artifacts, and things like that. And also trainers. So trainers will train you up as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff there. It's a much bigger game.
So in terms of the campaign, is it a very linear structure, or how open is it?
You have a kind of a path where you go questing, but you can go off that path, and go do side quests. There's plenty of for the player to do. We were talking about one of our fastest players went through the main track about 25 hours, and that's without actually really doing anything on the side, really. So 25 hours plus, depends on what kind of gamer you are, what kind of things you want to do. There's a lot of hidden areas, a lot of exploration, a lot of side quests. So here you can see sort of like he's stringing a few more, slightly more complicated ways of actually getting around. So slowly by slowly, you're going to start finding the stuff you've done before. It's going to come into its own. So you're only kind of like fighting a few smattering of skeletons right now. Eventually, you're going to be overcome with a lot more enemies. We're going to introduce like slightly harder enemies, bigger enemies. And you're going to have to start dealing with those guys differently. And then you've got a lot of different weapons. You'll notice that you're picking up loot. So loot's a big part of the game, which wasn't in Darksiders 1. And you can restore those away. So you can see he's just brought up the radial dial, which was, since we're going to have all this information in the inventory, we want to really kind of like let the player have quick access to all this stuff, all this cool stuff that he's getting. So with health potions, spells, weapons, gear. So yeah.
The original Darksiders was well, I don't want to say sleeper hit, but it was one of these games that came out that had a massive. The people who played it were incredibly passionate about it. It was a massive fan reaction when it came out. How have you guys reacted to the positives and maybe possibly negative things?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a surprise for us. I mean, really, the game was something that all the guys working on the game really wanted to play, and it's something that they, you know, kind of. We're really glad that it resonated with the players. It's kind of almost like an old school way of gaming. Actually, Hayden did a really good quote. He said at one point that it's kind of a game that you really get to play rather than the game playing you. There's so many cutscenes these days in some of the games, and this is like a super interactive experience. So going back to the exploration, the kind of like finding new areas, questing, but heavy dose of action. You combine that with the right balance of action. That's something something we're really interested in. And Darksiders 2 is also bringing forth a lot of stuff we didn't really get a chance to do on the first game, because it's an ambitious game anyway.
Which is saying something considering how much was in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was left on the table on the cutting room floor, so to speak, and we're doing a lot more of that in this game, and it's closer to the game we really wanted to make. So
I feel kind of mean even saying this, but how do you guys react to the point that sometimes you can't go 5 seconds without mentioning Zelda?
Well,
is that a positive thing?
Well, it's an amazing thing to be compared to these awesome games. To be honest, I mean, we see it as a massive compliment, really. To be honest, I mean, these are all games that we've all played and are excited about, and the ability to sort of see another version of it, and make it make it the way that we wanted to make it. That's exciting, and hopefully it's exciting for the fans. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think it's not really a problem. It's like we're all kind of like influenced to some degree, but this is a game really which we built upon Darksiders 1. We had an idea, we had a vision, and we want to just really capitalize on what we started with Darksiders 1, and that's really the essence of where we're going with this. So
environmentally and possibly tonally, it has its own feel to it. But in terms of mechanics, how have you sort of mixed it up in Darksiders 2?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you just saw like wall bounce, which is another little different way of actually getting about, and again pushing the kind of traversal elements. We've got a good balance in the traversal versus combat. Exploration, story. I'm a big fan of story anyway, so I tend to play campaign quite a lot. But you can see that we've got some epic vistas. We took great lengths to try and make sure that each world feels different. And I don't know if you guys can hear the soundtrack, but we've spent a lot of time on the soundtrack as well. Jesper Kid did the music for the game, and we made sure he had lots of visuals so he could really set the mood and atmosphere for each of the areas. So obviously this is the frozen realm of the other Crowfather.
In your reveal trailer, there was this massive boss fight essentially happening. How often do these fights happen in the game?
Surprisingly more often than you would think. We definitely wanted to mix it up and change up the pacing, depending on where the character was at the time. And this is also going to change up throughout the game. You may find yourself overrun by a lot more skeletons, a lot more kind of like minor enemies and things, and then we'll throw in like a big guy. So you have to really start thinking about how you're going to tackle, all those elements being thrown at you. The spells really come in useful there, and also switching up from the primary weapon being your scythe, which is a good all-rounder, and your secondary weapons, heavy hammers and axes and melee weapons. So, and then you could find yourself in the midst of all this a horde of like enemies, and then you want to throw out some spells like. We have like Murderer Crows, which is basically a bunch of crows which come out and just consume everything that's on the screen, or summon kind of ghouls, which come out like these kind of coffins, and they break out and start attacking the enemies. And again, as you also buff up your skills, they all do slightly different things. The enemies may become the focus. These ghouls may become the focus, and it leave you free to kind of tackle the other guys. So there's a lot of different things you can do.
The art team must be exhausted. There's so much. Like, do you ever wish you could just work on like a shooter or something where everything looks the same? There's so much variety.
Really, I don't know. I think seeing the game now and seeing the satisfaction and sort of seeing what we've accomplished, that's kind of excitement for all of us. I mean, all the art team, and I'm really proud of those guys. Couldn't have done it without the strength of the you know the art team, the design, and you know and the coding. It's an ambitious project.
Yeah.
We've had to keep lean. We've had to do lots of sensible decisions, and the team's just fantastic. It's a you know really one-off, unique team. So right now you can see he's in the inventory, and he can look at the skill tree there, and you have to level up to use certain amounts of skills, and also you might find weapons that you can only use once you've leveled up. It's a kind of a good idea to hang on to your weapons, because you'll find weapons that are probably not as good as the ones you already have or you picked up, but they're still useful. We have things like possessed weapons that you can feed other weapons into to make those even more powerful. So it's another little dynamic, and there's so many like weapon sets, armor sets that you can collect throughout the game, and we have like complete sets you can get. It's called legendary weapons, legendary armor sets, and those are like super powerful as well also. And so you got to really explore the whole area just to really get the most and really kind of pick up on all the things that are going on.
We haven't got that much time left. I just want to get one user question here.
Okay.
We just had Lost Planet 3 Resi 6 up here. We've had more questions from people for this game than anything this morning.
Fantastic.
I just want to answer this question because it sort of applies to me as well, because I hadn't actually played the first game.
Brilliant.
And I'm looking to do it now. Friendly to newcomers, question from Robbie Jones. And is there deep customization in the game? So if you're coming to a new...
Yeah, well, it's very important for us that this was a complete package, you know, for the players coming. You can completely play this game without having played Darksiders. You know, the story will make sense. You'll have a great experience. It's really cool. But if you do play this, and like if you're like me, who really likes story and like in-depth lore, you're gonna wish you had played the first one first. So, but it won't.
So go buy it now.
It won't ruin the experience if you just play this game. This is a great game on its own, stands alone completely. But getting yourself into Darksiders lore, I'd want both of them. So.
Awesome. Guys, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Before you go, when can we see Darksiders 2 and on what platforms?
So Darksiders is coming August 14th on 360, PS3 and PC and Wii.
Awesome. Thanks very much, guys. Wii U, yeah.
Sorry.
Get that U in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Wii U, well, I'll be gone. Chris Waters will be back in a second. We've got a Wii U confessional coming up now. Stick up.